Hey everybody, and welcome to Percentile Vice. My name's Emily. I'll be your keeper this evening. I am joined by Steve and John and Hannah, and we are continuing our playthrough through our homebrew Call of Cthulhu campaign. We are currently playing in our chapter, Laughing at the Wind. So, quick recap of what happened last time, because we took a little bit of time off for real-world life stuffs. You guys are deep down in the Temple of Tula. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you've gone through a couple different rooms and things like that. You've experienced some weird stuff, Kara, you flipped through a wall and experienced a whole nightmare realm kind of thing. You guys, John, your character Bernard found that one of his spells in his book controls statues around you, including a tiny little tchotchke statue. It was in your pockets.
His pocket soldier.
His little pocket soldier. And you guys have moved into a room that has all of these. Well, it originally had a bunch of sand covering the floor, and there was these stone circles throughout. But you guys had some good forethought based on some dreams that you've had previously that the floor wasn't always like this, and were able to elude my very tricky trap of the falling sand floor. So,
yes.
Guess congratulations for that. So now you guys are kind of standing on this entryway into this room, and you've been discussing ways to get across the room, thinking back to the dreams you've had, making some observations about the room. When you guys heard some talking, one or two rooms back in the room with a very large stone slab that's blocking off one side of the room. And Bernard, you were kind of playing with your abilities to control the stone statues, and had them speak. You commanded them to speak, and they uttered this horrible, loud noise that caused all three of you to have these visions of massacres and blood, and your sight was pulled across the desert into all these areas where there was just carnage and mayhem and death everywhere. When you finally came back to, the voices you had heard in the other room had kind of simmered down, and then all of a sudden, yelled out "What the fuck was that?" And that was about where we left off, was right after y'all had these visions and have somehow alerted the people in the other room that something may be going on in your general vicinity. So, unless you guys have any questions to recap, and if I get any information wrong as to what I said last time, it's canon today, and you'll just deal with it.
Leave a complainatory text in the messages below.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll be prompt to ignore them.
File those under I never want smoked meats again.
Yeah, exactly. So, unless you guys have any questions, then you guys have the floor. You guys can...
Geez, if they weren't before, but whoever that is back there talking, they're coming this way now. So, how are we getting across this room? Are we just going to randomly pick pillars to jump on, or what?
I think you
have a better idea?
I think your idea about having one of the soldiers do it first might have been a way to go. And then if he does make it across, we'll have one over there when we get over there.
All right. Well, order one of your 10 soldiers up too.
I am not... This is a new thing for me, so make way. Don't be in the way, just in case.
Okay, I'll step off to the side and under my breath say, "Footprint, Sally."
It's his favorite movie.
I am going to use the path to cross.
Okay. So, one of the stone statues closest to you, you see him kind of stand at attention, step off his pedestal, and begin to make his way towards you. Every step he makes it's heavy footfall. You feel the whole room kind of, you see the little drops of sand and dust kind of coming off of any surface, as he is entirely stone and he's incredibly heavy, kind of lumbering through this hallway. He reaches the door and he is a bit larger than the door, but he is able to kind of duck and crouch under it. It's a very weird thing to see stone bend. Because the way they're carved, they don't have actual joints, but it's almost like this strange, like, dimensional folding that happens with the joints of, like, the waist and the knees, where it's almost like it compresses in on itself and then is able to kind of click back out. Like, it's very strange. You have trouble kind of quantifying how that's functioning, but it seems to be functioning, and he's able to get up underneath the door and come up to the pedestal. And you see him kind of stop at that pedestal with you. And you get the feeling coming back across that connection of looking for clarification.
I'm going to form a picture in my mind of the first disc pedestal and visualize him either jumping or stepping to it, depending on how I think his capability would be of stepping.
Okay. So the closest pedestal to you is within his kind of step range, so he's able to step over onto this pedestal. He has a couple options in front of him. Some of them are very small. We were talking 8 inches across to some that are nearly 3 foot wide. You can just, pure logic, you know that at his size, the smaller pedestals are not going to be a very good option, just given the size of like his base that he needs to stand. But you can see that he's made it to that pedestal and he is standing there.
Gonna visualize the next one and so on and so forth until he gets...
Wasn't it the case that as we looked at it, like it was impossible to only take big pedestals across the room? Like to get across the room, at some point we were going to have to step on these 8-inch pedestals.
Correct. There was definitely some points where there was going to be no option unless you could make, a very wide jump.
Hey man, you saw the way you kind of did that dimensional folding shit there coming through the door? Can you order this guy to just like shrink himself down to man size?
Maybe.
I mean, well, I didn't think you could order a statue to get up and walk or talk, and you've done both so far. So, I mean,
it's worth a shot. And Nathaniel's going to close his eyes, and he's going to bring back the memory of watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Rick Moranis and the animation they used to shrink down, but it's going to stop when the soldier is man-sized.
Okay. So you spend some time visualizing that, but you're not getting any kind of feedback through that connection. Not seeing any changes.
That dog won't hunt.
Doesn't look like it's working.
So, memories. Oh, there's something about cat footprints.
There was. In Kara's dream, she had witnessed a cat kind of skirting across these pedestals, and with keen observation noticed that there were, in fact, some actual little cat paw prints on top of some of these pedestals, and she was able to deduce a direction, and it was on the right side, and it ended on the right side, but the middle was
as much as we got out of it, not the exactly that pedestal, that pedestal, that pedestal.
Correct. I have been operating under that John is using that information.
Sure.
With his...
Yeah, that's just... Wasn't trying to add anything new. It just came to me like, wait, there was a cat thing.
A cat. Yes, there was a thing with a cat, so...
Well, I will have him move to the next one until it is too small.
Okay. So he's able to kind of step one or two more pedestals before there's like either a choice of a very small pedestal or a very large gap to a large pedestal. Now, judging by his size and what you're seeing, you think that there's a possibility that he could jump that distance. It'd be much more feasible for him than for you. Does that make sense? So at this point, you have this choice of he can either attempt to do the small pedestals or he can attempt to make this jump.
Guys, I don't think we would be able to make the jump he's at anyway.
About how many pedestals has he gone through?
About 3 or 4. He's probably about right at the halfway point.
Geez, it seems like, if this was, like we see in the movies, like some of these are just going to fall away.
One probably
odds are
would
such
have.
that would have happened to this guy already. So I feel pretty comfortable about going on the ones he's gone through and then just using some of the smaller ones to finish getting across. So I feel like he served his purpose, But, geez, why send him back?
Because we need to get on the pedestal he's standing on.
Well, make him jump over to the big one. Then we can't make the jump. We get across, bring him on across, and we take a big fucking stone soldier along with us in case we run into some bad shit.
Can I see on the path with the big gap, is there that way a small one in the way he'd have to jump on?
Yes. So effectively where he's at, for his size, his options are either a small pedestal or making the jump. For you, if you were in the same position, the small pedestal would be more of an option because you...
That's not what I meant.
Okay, I apologize. I misunderstood your question.
He's going to jump to the big pedestal, yes. Right? I can tell which would be on the path later from that way, right?
Yes.
Is there a way for the statue to get across using only large pedestals and his ability to jump farther than us? Could he get all the way across?
If he can make this jump, yes. You feel confident that this is probably the widest jump he would need to make. If he can make this, he can more than likely make all the rest of them. Yes.
And no small pedestals he'd have to jump on that would probably end in the pedestal being broken or him falling?
No, you feel relatively confident in that, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to direct him the rest of the way.
Okay, so you're going to try to have him make the wide jump?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you see him kind of take this moment of, like, it's almost like he steps back and then he launches forward. And when he lands on this larger pedestal, you see 2 or 3 of the small ones throughout the room just kind of almost snap at a weird, like, chrysalis angle. Snap and then just slide down along themselves to the ground. So effectively, this large jump has caused there to be a little less options. You would need to follow his route up to a point and then have to veer off in one direction or the other. You're not going to be able to follow him exactly. Just the sheer force of him having launched himself and then slammed down onto this very large thing has created this outward ripple effect that has just... These pillars just go and then just slide down, and you hear the whistling of them falling and falling.
So maybe like have him just stay there for right now and let's get across and then have him finish his...
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so, was it... from the looks of it, it was his huge body creating some kind of concussive effect that had seismic repercussions. Or was that a trap stone?
Here's my thing. If it was a trap stone, it didn't affect the one he was standing on.
A devious trap indeed. If you step on this, you're fine, but all of your friends plummet to their death.
But it could have been like if you put a bunch of mouse traps on a floor and you like stomp through the house, sometimes one of the mouse traps will pop.
Mm-hmm.
I should have done that in one of these rooms. Just a fucking ton of mouse traps.
All right, so I was about to. Nathan was about to ask, so who's going first? Right, but before he got out of his mouth, he realized you're head of security.
Right. Like, damn it. Girl boss too close to the sun.
I'm going to step out onto the first few big pillars that the statue went across. And then when I get to the point where I've got to take some smaller pillars, I'm going to look back over my shoulders. Well, here goes nothing. And I'm going to try to take small pillars that stay close to, if possible, the statue.
Okay.
Where he's at. Just because I'm thinking maybe if this pillar falls out from me, the big guy can reach over and snatch me out of here.
I got you. Okay. So, go ahead.
I'm just was going to say, I'll take anything you say right now except make a luck roll.
No, there will be no luck roll. So, you're able to go for the first little bit of either stepping or doing pretty light leaping, where you feel relatively confident in your ability, but you're going kind of slow because when you land or you step, you've got to kind of rebalance. And you're noticing that some of these aren't super flat. So while you may land on the high side, as you tilt forward, you realize that there's actually a low side to this pillar. It's not severe, but it's enough that you can.
Is there a little movement in this?
No, they feel secure, but it feels like, if you stepped too far on the down slope, you might lose a little footing.
So I'm going to start paying a lot more attention to the actual topography of each pillar as I step onto it.
What I am going to ask is for you to make 3 dex checks.
That's a lot.
If you can meet my criteria, you will successfully make it across the room.
Yeah. Now looking back on it, I may have been the worst one to go because.
Well, I would make
I'm going to do it. I'm just like, I think you guys have higher dexes than me.
You could always run across them and use track.
My first dex check was a 53 over 40, so a failure.
Okay.
Do I have to decide on each check if I'm going to spend luck, or can I wait till all 3 of them decide how to
wait to see and
spend any luck?
Because this is going to be a best out of 3, but it's not just as simple as 2 out of 3. I have levels of success and failure, so you can do all 3.
The second one was an 87 over 40.
Okay.
The third one was a 64 over 40. So I feel like I need to have a success on at least one of these things.
Okay.
So I am going to spend 13 of my measly amount of luck points to make that first one a success.
Okay. So just kind of monologuing or montaging for you here. You begin to take these leaps, and in those first couple of pedestals, like, you get your footing and you start kind of getting a little like, all right,
cocky.
I got this. I got this. And so you make a slightly more bolder jump, and, you land it and you're like, hell yeah. And then you make just a slightly bolder jump, and you feel this moment where your toe kind of hits the ledge as you're coming up, and you kind of hold it and you steady yourself, but you're like, okay, no, it's fine, But you're definitely humbled for a second as you make this landing. But you do land it. And then you go to try to make what is effectively going to have to be your boldest one. You're in the middle of the room here, and this is where things are a little sparse. You've lost some of these smaller pedestals. And you see a big pedestal, and your choices are the big pedestal that's slightly further away that you're going to need almost a running start to get to, or a very small pedestal that is in leaping distance, but it's only about there. Basically, it's it and another 8-inch wide one and you're going to have to...
I land with my feet on 2 different pedestals at one time.
Well, or you're going to have to, like, American Ninja Warrior this, where you land and then keep going. I'm going to give you the option of either a running start to the big pedestal, or try to American Ninja Warrior this across 2 to get to a medium-sized one that feels safer. I will take some ideas if you have other skills you'd like to use besides dexterity. I can also see some cues for strength. You know, instead of trying to land nimbly, you're trying to land with force to kind of almost plant yourself. I can take that. But unfortunately, a bad set of choices got you to a place where you are stuck between a pillar and a hard place.
Yeah, so, you know, looking through here, I got a couple options, like, you know, could I, you know, spot hidden, figure out which one of these? Yeah, I can tell by the look on your face. So what I'd like to do instead is I'd like to intimidate the pedestals. You will not drop me.
Damn it!
So here's why I'm going to use my brawl.
Right.
Stance is important in fighting, and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can take... I struggled between dexterity and strength.
Me too.
So if you would like to use one or the other, I'll give you that option.
I would much rather use strength.
Okay. So which path are you going to choose?
I am going... So I can either make a long jump to a
Bigger pedestal.
Or an easier jump, but have to do a hop, skip, jump, one pedestal, next pedestal. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to do the long jump, because that makes more sense to me on a strength check, because the other one sounds very dexterous.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so roll me a strength check. I'm getting there, folks.
58. Under an 85.
Very nice. So you kind of back up on this like medium-sized pedestal, and you kind of have like this like jump moment where you're like psyching yourself up, and then you take off. You're only able to get
to them it looks like I'm like really jumping, getting into the physical nature of this, but actually this is scaring the piss out of me, and that's the pee-pee dance. Oh my god, I got a piece of bad.
You're only able to get like 2 or 3 like running steps before you kind of have to make that final kickoff, and you kick off and you start, and you see yourself kind of coming through the air as you start to kind of crescendo down, and you realizing that but you're able to hit it like right at waist level. So your legs are dangling, but you're from the waist up are on top of this pedestal, and you're able to kind of like with that strength check get yourself like swing a leg over and kind of pull yourself up, and you're kind of just like splayed out flat on this pedestal, but you've made it to that pedestal.
So laying there flat, splayed out, I'm going to look back over my shoulder. Might not want to try that one. Might want to go the other way. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
Yeah. But you, this was the big hurdle. The rest of the way is a little bit of jumping, but you're able to kind of work it's not nearly as taxing. And you are able to, if you would like, continue on to the far side of the room. Or if you'd like to stay where you're at, that's your choice.
No, I'm going to get over onto solid ground quickly. Okay.
Wonderful. So, Kara, Bernard, what are y'all doing?
Kara, do you want to go next, or would you like for me to?
I could do it. And then she's going to walk up all cocky, look at it for a second, and then start jumping.
Okay. So I need 3 dexterity checks for you, please.
The first one is 51 under 80.
Okay.
30 hard success with a 36.
Okay.
And then another regular success, 47 under 80.
Okay. So you're able to
ballerina herself across.
Like you find this groove, and I think this is where you may have succeeded a little over Bernard, is that like you didn't stop at the pedestals. You let the momentum of the first jump continue on through your stride, and you were able to almost, just keep teetering back and forth. But you chose a path that got you in this direction where you weren't ever having to make these massive jumps. And if they were, you had built up so much momentum from previous successful jumps that you were really able to kind of get into it. And if you would like, you can cross all the way to the far side of the room.
I am going to stop near where Nate. Bernard? Nate.
He is Nate. I am
Nate.
Bernard.
That's what I thought.
I got it mixed up earlier, and I think it set a precedent for.
So Nate went to the other side of the room. He's all the way across.
I'm all the way across.
Okay. Oh, then yeah, I'll cross all the way then.
Okay. All right, Bernard, you are the last man on your side.
And at this point, we've seen Nate go across, and it was a little sketch. And then Kara went across, and it made me feel a little better. There's like a part in the middle there where she almost looked like a cat jumping from pedestal
Very
to
graceful.
pedestal. And Bernard is still a little worried because he is no Kara by no means, but he's going to do his best.
Okay, so I need 3 dexterity rolls.
28. I'm going to spend 1 luck and make that a hard success.
Okay.
Ooh.
I was hoping he wasn't going to say a success because I'm like, oh, you are so fucked.
53 is 1 regular success.
Okay.
74. I'm going to spend the 19 luck.
Because you have it. Like 100 luck points.
Or
Okay.
no, it wouldn't be 19 to get 74 minus 55 is... Yeah, 19. So
Look at you mathing quick in public. And then doubting yourself.
And then doubting your good math. Yeah. Okay. So you are the first half of this room, you really follow Kara's lead of like keeping your momentum going, and you kind of try to mirror her path, like try to follow where she was. But you find that as she went into these areas where there was a lot of smaller pedestals, you're finding that just at your size and your stature that it's feeling less and less comfortable. You get just past the middle of the room. You're able to make like one really good jump and really make it. And you're entering this area where there's a lot of these little pedestals. And that's when things get a little sketchy for you. But you manage to keep yourself upright. You're about 2/3 of the way there. And you're on a medium-sized pedestal. Now you can make one long jump to the end of the room. Or you have the option to take safer jumps and almost backtrack 1 or 2 steps to take a different path that will get you there closer without quite so long of a jump, but it will require more leaping.
I'm going to take the long jump.
Okay. You going to use dexterity or you going to do strength?
Strength.
Okay.
18 is almost an extreme.
How close to an extreme?
2.
Okay. So you on this pedestal, and why don't you tell me? So you what do you see being that close to an extreme success of landing it onto the far side of the room's entryway?
So he feels like when he makes the jump, he knows immediately he's going to make it there, but he's not sure if when he lands, he's going to be able to stick the landing or if he's going to have to do a running landing.
Right.
And when he actually lands, he has in mind doing a running landing, and there's some dust under his foot when he lands that makes him slip. And he looks like a complete klutz. like the old Seinfeld where the neighbor comes in and he slides in the room and it's like, ugh.
God damn it. Yeah. Oh, we got an egg problem. The soup. Okay. All right. So you now 3 are on the opposite side of the room, which has a almost identical pedestal to where you had been standing on the opposite side, and a nearly identical door. And then you have one stone statue that is kind of
standing guard in the middle of the room.
guard on this one pedestal in the middle of the room.
Bernard is going to brush himself off, and he dropped his eyeglasses case that he uses for reading, and there was a nice little clatter, and he starts bringing the big guy to where we are.
Okay, so you see him continue to make these jumps and these leaps, and he does have one more, like, really long jump to make. It's not quite as long as the other one, but you see him do that same kind of crouch and then just, like, leap, and it's almost insane the amount of force that he would have to exert to move from just this crouching position to just straight airborne. And when he lands, you see several more of these small pillars, these, just crack in, like, those tall chrysalis forms, where they just, like, shatter down and then they just kind of slide down. But he manages to make it to y'all's side, and you three and your stone giant are sitting there. Everybody make me no, not make me. Roll me a listen roll, please. I'm gonna break myself of this habit.
Hard success.
Nice.
Good news for you.
What'd you roll? I can't see that. I can't read your dice. Your dice are crazy.
It's a 100.
Nice.
Fumble.
Okay.
Well, what's your skill in listen? Oh, it's hundreds of fumble anyway.
25.
Kara's been shooting too many guns, and she can't hear at all. So,
Okay. So, Nate. There's this moment where after the stone statue lands, and there's like this very loud commotion of him landing because he is, incredibly forceful, and you guys kind of shuffling around to make room for him on this not too wide of a pedestal, where you hear an echo from down below. And at first it's the sound of the stone giant having landed, but as that begins to dissipate, you hear something else kind of crescendoing in the background behind the echo of that initial impact. And it's something much more akin to just echoing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then it dies
below us.
Below you. But, Cara, you hear nothing. Bernard, you were standing too close to the giant, the stone statue, when he lands. And so the impact of him hitting that loud noise, it immediately sends like this ringing sensation through your entire head. And for a solid few minutes, like after you hit your head really hard, you can only hear like ringing sensation. That's what you're hearing for a solid couple minutes. You can still hear your companions speaking because they're close to you, but anything really outside of your immediate area, it's getting lost behind this ringing sensation.
Tinnitus.
Okay. Floor is yours.
Jeez. Did you guys hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything. No. Just hear the ringing. I was too close to the guy.
Down below. After those things, the pedestals crashed and everything, there was like this something. And it's like, I don't know, a breathing, a sighing. There's something down there. That's all I'm saying. It's alive, and we got to figure out how to get through this door now.
Kara is going to glance over the edge and see if she can see anything down there.
Okay. Roll a spot hidden. No.
Failure.
The darkness, it's you're only able to see really about 20 feet down before there's just the pitch blackness of that very deep hole is swallowing up any light that your eyes could perceive. Yeah. Sorry about that, but so
it's okay. I used all my good rolls on the dexterity,
which was a good place to use them.
Honestly.
Because had Nate been any less lucky, like if you had been like, there would have been some real like dire consequences for you.
if I hadn't
pulled out that.
spent the luck to make one of those things a success.
Yeah, so using that one success got you to where you got 2 shitty options. No successes meant no options. Just there are places in my campaign where just, actual death and just like bad rolls is a possibility, and this happens to be one of them. And so great job, all of you, for not dying. But you got really close. Okay.
So what does this door look like?
So it is very similar to the door.
Is there a doorknob?
So it's not a doorknob per se, but there are like these built-in stone handles. And from what you can tell, it seems to open inward into the next area.
Well, I'm not listening. I'm not checking for traps or anything. There is something down there that we have alerted to our presence. So I'm just going to try and push these doors open.
Yeah. Okay. So you were able to push these doors open. They take a good bit of force, but you're able to, just like other doors, putting some muscle into it, really kind of edge them open. And as you do, Kara, roll a spot hidden for me, please.
That one was even worse. That was a 93.
Okay, great. So as you do open these doors, it opens up into a dark hallway. But as these doors swing all the way and they kind of reach the walls that they can stop on, these inset lighting, light is a strange word. They're almost like these crystal chunks that are embedded in the ceiling begin to illuminate, one by one, just all the way down this hallway for about 50 feet. And then you see them continue on a left-hand turn as this hallway continues, but you see them just pop on one after the other, just all the way down this hallway. This hallway, like I said, it's about 50 feet this way, and then it turns. It's about 20 feet across, about 10 feet high. It's a very large hallway. But all along this hallway, you see these panels of these green chunks of jade that are all in this very, disheveled pattern. There seems to be no rhyme or reason to it. There's a couple areas where 2 tiles, the lines of jade kind of meet up. And then the next one, the jade will be going this way, or there'll be a curve in the jade. Like, they don't seem to all match up. It's very haphazard looking, like all the way down. And it's just these swirling lines of jade stone inset in tiles all along these walls. Bernard, make a spot hidden roll, please.
Poof, a spot hidden roll.
At least it wasn't me this time.
That is a regular success.
Okay. You see some movement back in the hallway where your stone warriors are.
Back across the the abyss. Through the doors we left open.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any light left over there?
A little, but it's slim.
Do we still have the flashlights?
Yeah.
Gonna grab one of the flashlights and try to shine it over in that direction and see if I see anything better.
Okay. So as you shine the light, you kind of take a moment and get it kind of squared up, and you look down, and what you see is that the door leading into the room prior to that has the stone slab is opening. And there's somebody walking through that doorway. And as you shine your light, there's a moment where they kind of look up, and you know they saw you because you see the glimmer of your flashlight hit their retinas, and you know that overexposed look that eyeballs get. And then you see them just full tilt running back, and you start hearing yelling.
Running away from us.
Back into the room. And you hear a lot of yelling.
Nate, Kara, somebody was over where we just came from. When they saw us over here, when they saw my light, they left, but I'm not sure who they were.
I'm not either, but I tell you, I'm more concerned about whatever's at the bottom of that abyss.
I think if it could climb up here, it would have by now.
Or it's in the process of.
Yeah, you could be right.
I just want to close these doors. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm concerned with the dead body we left over there.
Yeah, but that bridge is crossed.
He fell. Nobody can prove we did anything. It's...
They've seen him.
Yeah.
They saw a flashlight, went
And
running
now
in
they've
fear.
seen us.
They saw a flashlight. It actually
probably
made
didn't.
it harder to see us.
Yeah. Let's keep going anyway.
But I mean, they could always just check the registration on that vehicle out there.
Honestly.
Sure, they could track us back to Iggy.
Okay. So, what are y'all doing?
Closing the doors, if my party will let me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you have trouble with it, I will try to get the stone statue to help.
You bring him into the hallway too?
He's already in the hallway, isn't he?
Just asking. Just make sure you're not leaving him behind. I'm just
Yeah, I'm not leaving
getting
him
clarification.
behind.
Yeah, okay.
If possible, I'm going to try to take him with.
Yeah, he can fit in this room.
We have a pet stone golem. We're not leaving him behind.
We do. It's pretty cool. Okay. So you're able to shut the door once again. There's some effort behind it, but it's not anything that a standard man person could do. You know.
Man person.
Man.
I'm a
person.
standard man person.
Well, I realized that it wasn't nice to just say man because a woman could do it too. Man person. And I redacted. So.
Leave your hate comments below.
Any hoozles. Okay, so you guys have shut the door. You are now in this hallway with these crystalline light sources embedded in the ceiling and these strange emerald and stone tiles all over the walls.
So there are tiles on the wall, and there's like jade, or is it emerald running through them?
Green stone.
And you said like it was haphazard, but every now and then, like the line of green from one tile would match up with the line. So I'm thinking about the rooms we've been in where tiles were spinning and whatnot. So I want to take a quick look at one of the tiles nearest me and see if there's a way to move it. Like the tiles can be, you press in, it pops out for an inch, and you turn it. Because I'm wondering if it's like that little game with the sliding little tiles, and there's just one spot missing, but you have to like move them all around to get it in the right order.
No, I got you.
I'm wondering if it's something like that.
Okay, what kind of skill would you like to use?
How about mechanical repair?
Yeah, I would take that.
That is a success.
Okay. So you kind of find a tile that you can tell it doesn't match up on any sides, and you begin to try to like twist it and do all these things, and you realize that you can in fact kind of push it in, and it kind of insets, and there's almost like a space inside that you're able to then twist it and release it back into its position. So it's almost, you push in, you can turn either direction, and then allow it to set back once you've righted it.
Is this like a line of tiles, or does this tile like have a tile above it, below it, and to the left and right, all touching it?
So it's almost as if, there's a stone wall, but then every so often in different places, there are these tiles. But they
like
are very...
groupings of tiles?
There occasionally is one or two tiles together or three tiles together, but these tiles are large.
So the green runs through the tiles and in the walls. So I'm going to look and see if there's a way for me to turn this tile so that the lines on it match up with the lines on the wall.
Certainly.
Rubik's Cube this bitch.
Rubik's Cube this bitch. So while you are doing that, and I will come back to you once you have that, what are the two of you doing? My two little archaeologist friends.
Yeah, I imagine I would look around the room.
Okay. You want to roll a spot hidden, or you want to use some other skill, There's something specific you're looking for?
This is more of a curious about what the purpose of the room would have been and a learning about whoever made the room, so archaeology.
Okay, go ahead.
22, which is a
math.
Okay, just a hard success.
Okay. And I will get back to you with an answer. Carl, what are you doing?
I'm just going to look around to see if anything jumps out to me as being different from everything else.
Okay. So then you would need to make like a spot hidden.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and roll that.
A 90.
Yeah.
No.
Not really. You're really, really enamored with these crystal lights and wondering how you can get them in your apartment.
Carl would do that.
All right. Nate. So you are able to, on the tile that you're on, kind of push it in with both hands and are able to spin it and get it lined up to where, you know, one side down at the corner is lined up and then the middle of this tile is lined up, and you kind of release it and pop back in, and it's made this connecting green line between these two sections of wall. And you can kind of, in your head, you know, you've been doing a lot of like mazes and stuff in this thing, that you're beginning to kind of see the path that it needs to take. And there's a couple areas where it could get a little squirrely, but you feel confident that with enough time, you could work your way through this wall, and the other wall. It would probably take you several minutes, but you feel like, yeah, you can definitely make what you're wanting to happen. Are you going to continue working on that, or?
I think I'm just right now enamored with the fact that what I thought might be the case happened. So until these two say, come on, let's get going or whatever, I think without even just like realizing that I'm doing something that may take 10 minutes to do, once that happens, I'm going down to the next one in the wall.
Yeah. It's very much, ooh, piece of candy.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So Bernard, you begin to kind of walk up and down this hallway, and you're getting the impression that you've seen this somewhere before. Maybe not this exact thing, but there's something very deja vu for you. Like you've read about it, or you've seen something, or you read a dig. There's something about it that you know it's just right there. And you know that you've seen this kind of artwork before, mainly the doorways that you've seen previously in this particular temple, and, you know, Dreams in the Book. Like, it's all kind of revolving around this green trail of some sort. But as you kind of walk, are you going to walk all the way down to the turn?
Probably.
Okay. As you walk down to the turn, at this point, Nate has probably done about half of the tiles in this chunk of the hallway. As you're kind of slowly walking and just working through this, as you get to the turn, something does kind of stick out to you that it jogs your memory a bit. So it's a right angle turn on the far side of this left turn. So at your rightmost corner, the corner is not a 90-degree angle. It's actually chopped off at a 45, whereas the interior turn is still at a 90. And as you look down the hallway and you're seeing the same, you know, stuff on the wall, the same lighting, you look down and the same thing happens as it turns to a doorway that at the far corner, the wall is chopped off at a 45, but the interior corner is still at a 90. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you remember seeing something about ancient channels would use these 45-degree embankments to keep water flow less obstructed in these 90-degree turns.
So the outside corner of these 90-degree turns has just been rounded off.
Yeah, so if your turn is like this outside corner is 45'd instead of a full 90.
Gotcha.
And this one is. Whereas your interior turns are still at a full 90. Does that make sense?
It's 2 45s with a stretch in between instead of a 90.
Yeah, so it's like 45, 45, but your interior turns are 90, 90. Does that make sense?
It does.
No.
So you
It
walk
makes
up,
sense.
it's about to turn left. Right?
The way you explained it didn't.
The corner on, as you're going up to it, you're about to make this left turn, the corner on your left is 90 degrees. Right in front of you is this catty corner wall.
Correct.
That
Is a 45. Yes. And you know that you've seen in, and I apologize, I had a map that I was going to show you guys, and that's why I needed the map tonight.
So you're just
I'm
working
just
off of Deja Vu.
Yes.
It's Deja Vu because we're in Mexico.
Yes. So you know that you've seen in ancient, like, either channels or aqueducts, this kind of 45-degree shaving off of a corner to avoid that 90-degree where water would be slamming into that corner and you'd be losing some water force. It kind of softens that turn for the water. Does that make sense? You're not sure how that plays into this particular situation, but you know that you've seen that used in that way. Make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So
Can
you've
I
done about half of the tiles at this point. You're approaching
On
the
one
turn.
wall or for the
in the
hall?
in this portion of the hallway.
Going back and forth from one
Yeah,
side
you're
of
just
the-
kind of working your way down it.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's how I would have approached it.
Okay. Cara, what are you doing? I'm gonna let you go next, I promise.
I'm gonna go up to the turn and start going down the hallway and see if I see anything.
Okay. So you see that same tile work.
Mm-hmm.
Are you wanting to make another roll?
Yeah, let's try spot hidden again.
Do it.
See if my luck has changed. Hey, regular success.
Nice. So you notice that the doorway at the end,
Mm-hmm.
that all of these green lines are kind of culminating at this door.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other end, where the door was, they did not like mesh up to that door. They almost like just petered off in different directions. This door, however, they all kind of come together to that door. All right,
Mm-hmm.
Bernard, what were you going to do? I apologize.
So you're saying I know this from experience. So what I would like to do is look for signs of water flow and try to tell if it's coming from the door or from the other way.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. So I would take spot hidden. I would take natural world, or maybe
Track.
track the water. A swim roll.
You would be looking for tracks of the water.
Track makes sense there. I like that.
I'm not rolling track, though. I don't have any points in track. Spot hidden. 15 against... Let me scroll down. A 74, so that's almost extreme.
Yeah, I think you need like 13 for extreme, didn't you?
Yeah.
So close. Yeah. So you don't notice any signs of water. But you do notice that every so often in the walls, there seems to be these, like, at the top, these, like, holes, almost like vents. But yeah, you're not seeing signs of water. You do notice these tiny, I mean, there may be like 3 inches by 2 inches, but they're just every so often along the top of the wall. Kind of hard to see given the way the lighting is working, but you do notice them.
Last question for now is I'm going to look under these holes and see if it looks like it's had water come out of it.
Okay.
And like made a
Okay. Yeah,
divot.
you don't notice any sort of erosion in those areas.
Hey guys, I'm not sure if this is relevant here, but the way the walls of the hallway are, It's almost like you would set up if you were running water through here so that it doesn't crash up against the wall. It sort of eases along the outside.
When he says that, I'm going to stop mid-turn on a tile, step back, and look at the tiles, the way the lines have all connected. Does it look like waves or water flow or...
It doesn't look like waves, but it definitely has a flow of sorts to it. Don't laugh at me. It does have a stream-like quality.
Is there any sign
Go ahead.
of sand like gathered in like little piles on the floor or anything, or any remnants of sand instead of water?
Not anything out of the normal. There are some, like, in the corners, there's some buildup of, sand from general erosion and things like that, but not large quantities or anything more than just some gritty bits along the floor.
The gritty bits.
Gritty bits.
Is the floor, like, beneath us, does it feel like there's any angle to it? Like...
Brilliant question.
Like downward this way or that way,
Fucking brilliant question.
Yeah, a little.
Which way?
So you in my head, you kind of walk back to the beginning of this hall, and you walk and you really pay attention to the walking. And while it's subtle, you do feel a slight incline headed towards the door you have not gone through. Slight.
See, in my head, she just popped one bullet out of her gun and laid it down on.
Oh, damn, that was a much better retcon it. No, that's what you did.
Yeah.
And then the bullet started rolling.
This floor's inclined. Yes, there is a slight incline leading up to the door you have not gone through.
Okay. I'd like to make a recall roll.
A recall.
A memory roll. All right, so I just seen Kara do the bullet thing, and my mind just knows what she's thinking. Like Bernard said, things are set up for like water to flow through here, and she figures out which way it's rolling. And I'm thinking, I keep adjusting these tiles so these flowing lines meet up. So if there is water, it's going to flow towards the door we're heading towards and away from the abyss. Am I right so far?
So the
door we haven't opened is the way the floor inclines.
It goes up to that.
Oh, okay.
Inclines.
So it comes down.
It's going downward
to
towards
the abyss. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Still want to make my recall roll.
Okay.
I had interpreted the sound that I heard and nobody else heard as kind of a living being, breathing, sighing, something. But, like when you put a shell to your ear, there's that sound of the ocean, which is not that dissimilar. So I'm trying to think back. What I interpreted as in my mind was this huge freaking monster down there going, could that have been more like surf, tide, something like that?
Okay. So using
there is no memory skill on here.
So what I'm chalking this up to is you had something out of context, and now you're trying to compare it to context you may have. And thinking back to what you heard, it could have been created by some kind of water sound, but the problem that your brain is having with that explanation is that it was so short-lived and it was so singular in its happening that if there was surf or water, you'd have been hearing it more constantly.
Gotcha.
Or more thematically, and instead of you've only heard it that one time, and that's what's not equaling out for you.
Yeah, no, I think If they were looking at me, they probably saw me kind of roll my eyes up for a minute, think, and then shake that off. Hey, I just had this really crazy thought, but you guys are the archaeoanthropologist guys around here. You've seen a lot more of this stuff than me, but I mean, we've already run into like puzzly, trappy kind of things. And should I stop doing this thing with the tiles? Like, if I make this all happen, is that door going to burst open and water come flushing through here? Like this, the key kind of thing? I'm being stupid. I'm sorry. You guys are the smart ones here.
Do you have your snake camera by chance?
There was a knock at the door.
I do. It is. I'm getting the name. I have a compact digital recorder listening device. Yeah, I don't have a. I had one back at.
That was a
piece
piece of equipment in that lab.
Yep.
I thought you had specifically at one point said something about getting
he took
one.
The SD card. He bought a spy equipment that allowed him to leave like listening pieces. Mm-hmm. And a couple other things and like goggles, but I don't think he bought himself a new telescope.
That's a brilliant idea. I wish I had thought about it when I was spending all that money.
So here's how I'm looking at it. We have just closed the door. So if water comes rushing in, we're not going anywhere unless that door gives way.
Oh, shit. You tell me we got to open the door just in case.
I would say not. I don't want to fall down there.
Oh, yeah. But these doors open inward, though. So if we just like open them up a little bit, if a lot of water came, it'd push the doors closed.
Yeah, we may not be able to open it if there's too much water on the other side.
We won't be able to open it if there's too much water on this side. And so I get Kara's concerned. If the doors are open, the water comes flushing in, poof, we go down the abyss. If we close the doors and the water starts filling up, I'm picturing us shredding water with 3 inches between the water and the ceiling, trying to breathe the last few gaps of air.
But you know how
the door will be open, and the other door, the one we haven't been through.
You know how an airplane wing works, right? There's resistance up here, so there's a flow down here. Mm-hmm. If there were water flowing through, it may close the door because there's lower pressure where the water is coming out. So if we do leave the door open, then we should probably have the soldier hold it open.
I mean, if it's a really fast gush of water, it's going to sweep us up with it.
Well, in that case, having the soldier in the way would give us something to grab onto before we kerplunked off the side.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards it's safer to have the doors open because I don't want to get drowned in here.
Maybe we have him hold it open just kind of cracked. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get the soldier to reopen the door. And when he does, I'm going to look across to the other side real quick. What do I see?
Are you using your flashlight?
Not at first.
Then it's too dark to see on the other side.
Then I'll use my flashlight.
In the interest of fairness, you do know you have another way of seeing over there.
I don't.
The night vision goggles.
No. You have several other stone warriors standing over there.
He hasn't thought about that yet.
Okay. Just trying to be fair. I know it's a new thing. So, okay. So you're going to use the flashlight to look through? Okay. So you kind of have him pull open the door and you kind of peek through. And what you see is there's one person standing at this, between all the stone warriors. And the doors going into the room with the big stone slate, the first room with the spinning tiles, are flown open. And you can just barely see into that room for a split second as you see just littered bodies on the floor, crumpled masses of people. And as you kind of begin to kind of pull away from this sight, your flashlight kind of dips down and you notice that on the floor, coming from the room with the slate down past the feet of this figure standing and down to the stairs of the room with the abyss, is this just absolute river of blood, just pouring and dripping down and sliding down the sides down into this large abyss. And I need you to make a sanity roll.
Shit. Never look back. That's the lesson here.
Honestly.
Never look back.
That is an 80 even against a 55.
Okay. So I need you to take 1d6 of sanity damage, please.
1.
Brilliant. So before I continue with my narration, tell me what goes through your head as you see this stream of blood.
I think his first thought is, when I told them to speak and saw those visions, were they seeing my visions and have went out and gotten a bunch of people and just massacred them and brought them back here? And I managed to shake it off. Even if that happened, it wasn't something I intentionally did. We have to keep our heads. So next concern, who is over there?
Okay. So what are you doing? Are you going to continue to look?
I have not, let me put it this way. I have not seen enough to tell me that this is a particular person.
As of right now, without like taking the flashlight and shining it directly on their face for a prolonged period of time, no. In my head, you're kind of, once you notice there was a figure, you're trying not to be too blatant, police officer in the face. But if you would like to distinctly look at that person, you will have to focus your flashlight on them for a prolonged moment.
When he's thinking, did these stone statues see what I saw? And then I need to see this guy's face. Does anything happen?
If you would like it to. If you would like to make that, connection, I think in your mind you feel that twinge of, the ability to connect out.
This is more of a question of how loose do the commands have to be?
Okay. I think in your mind, when you start questioning those things, you feel that connection kind of flutter. Almost like they want to be of assistance in that, but they need direct commands. It's almost like a dog who's waiting on a treat, like they're waiting on you to give that word. There's almost like they're anticipating your command on that side.
He is going to think, let me see.
Okay. Your vision goes very awry. It's almost very spider-like as you're seeing through several different sets of eyes, all looking inward at this figure, and you're seeing this figure from all these different angles. And you begin to it takes a moment for your brain to process information in that way because they're not used to seeing it like that. But as you begin to pull it together, you almost like create this like 3D picture in your mind where there's this man in this very tight-fitting cloak. It's not baggy. It's very, trimmed in, with a hood up, and his hands are out by his side, and you're watching as blood is just pouring down his forearms and dripping off his fingers, and you can see him kind of muttering to himself something, and your brain is straining to hear through ears that are not your own, trying to ascertain what he's hearing, and you're not getting anywhere, but in your actual body, you hear this very loud snap of stone. And there's this rush of wind. It's very similar to the little puffs of in and out wind that you were feeling in the first room, and the wind that you felt down in the abyss. This big, inhale through this hallway that you're in, and through this abyss, and through the other hallway, as you hear this massive just crash through something stone and heavy. You all feel this like violent tremor go through this entire temple, much larger than when the stone warrior jumps, much larger than any other kind of tremor you guys have experienced. This is like the kind where your whole body begins to violently, you have to catch yourself on a wall, or you stumble, kind of thing. So real quick before I continue, what are the three of you doing? Like what's going through our heads?
Let me ask before
Okay.
a clarifying question.
Okay.
You said there was a river of blood pouring out.
Mm-hmm.
Is all of it coming from the guy, or is some of it from the bodies on the floor?
So it appears that it's coming from the bodies in the previous room, and it's kind of funneling down, and he is standing in it. But he himself is also bleeding and or covered in blood and is dripping from his extremities.
Okay.
Imagine like Carrie in the prom scene. Yeah. So, what are we thinking? What are we doing? Just a quick check-in. How's everybody feeling?
Well, I think Nate would have turned and just looked at Nate. I'm sorry, at Bernard doing the door thing.
This is why I get confused.
Turn to look at myself.
He looks like a Nate, and I don't feel like a Nate, but I am a Nate, and he is not a Nate. I'm a 10. He's an 8.
Nate, I feel like a Bernard. Dun, 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 dun.
Let's go, dude.
So when we heard that crack and the rush of wind, did it feel like it was coming from the area that we haven't been and rushing past us towards the abyss? Like something down there taking a big gasping breath and it pulled air that way? Or did it feel like it was going the other way?
So the vacuum effect definitely is coming towards
The abyss.
the abyss.
And we heard a large crack.
A massive, ear-shattering kind of crack.
Could I tell which direction that crack came from? The abyss or back towards the door we haven't opened yet? Like, I'm wondering if that door just cracked open.
It came from the direction of the abyss, but it did not sound that close.
Okay. So I don't like the looks of that. I'm pointing like across the abyss to the other room, and I don't want to find out what's down there. And I'm starting to get a little worried about what's that way, but lots of death. I think certain death. Who knows? I'm going with the lesser of three evils. We got to go that way. Now the question is, should we just go check out the door and see if we can go through it, or should I keep messing with this tile puzzle?
Cara, what are you doing right now? What are you thinking? What you doing?
I'm gonna glance back to where all the chaos is happening and go, I'm not fucking around and finding out with that. And I'm gonna turn to the puzzle that Nate has been working on, and I'm gonna start continuing it.
Okay.
Bernard has had a realization that He doesn't know what this guy is doing. He knows a little bit about the magic, but not really anything significant about how it works or what it can do. But he does know that he feels like whatever he's doing needs to stop, and he is going to think, stop him.
Okay. So I'm going to do a little narration that will lead up to the moment when you say stop him. Okay. So you're still looking through the eyes of your stone warriors, correct? Right up until the stop him. Or did you back out the minute that all the crack big booms went?
Let's say I backed out at the end of your description of the scene.
Okay. So, there's this moment of panic where, you know, Nate, you're saying, we need to make a decision. Like, we need to either go to certain death, kind of death, maybe death. Like, you know, I choose maybe death. And Kara's like, nope, fuck that. And she starts, you know, doing the tile pieces. And, you know, Bernard kind of snaps back into his own eyes, his own body. And there's a moment of kind of just you guys all kind of re-getting your bearings as to what you want to do. When you begin to feel and hear these and you begin to see, you know, the ceiling, every one of those lumbering sounds, bits of ceiling falling and dust particles. And you see some of the pedestals in the abyss room kind of do that same crack, but these are some of the medium-sized ones, like, that are beginning to crack and slide down, and you're losing pedestals left and right, and to the point where all that's really left are pretty much the large ones. And there's this moment where the kind of lumbering stops, and that's about the time that you say you get the command fully out of stop him. And all of your stone warriors kind of stand at attention and step down from their pedestals, and they begin to approach this man. And as they get closer, you see him say something. You hear him say something. There's some kind of moment. And you, in control of these stone giants, these stone warriors, can sense something has gone wrong on that side. As you all kind of turn to look across, and you see his body begin to flex and crack in all of these wrong angles as his back snaps and his hips jut forward and one knee slams to the side, and arms are beginning to break at strange angles as he kind of geometrically folds back in on himself and then crumples into effectively the third of the size of this man it was originally, in this pile of broken bones and viscera. And at that moment, the doors that are open leading to the pile of dead bodies in that large room, that whole apparatus holding the doors just busts in as you see this large creature come lumbering forward. This creature has kind of the...
Coming from the spinny tile room.
Yes, into the hallway
into
with the
the
stone warriors.
Warrior hallway.
Correct. Huh. It has the head and the shoulders of like a very large like draft horse, but it's scaled in these like not like lizard scale, but almost like patches of stone and magma that aren't quite fused together. And between them you can see these different colors of reds and oranges and blues and the occasional like purples and greens all across. It has these large stone-like wings that are beginning to crush through the doorways as almost reptilian claws begin to grab hold of anything and drag itself through an opening that's far too small as it begins to descend through this hallway at you. And I need all three of you to make a sanity roll.
I'll do that, and then I'll make one for my character. Whoa.
Mine passed.
Okay.
I failed.
Okay.
Hard success.
Okay. Successes.
It's nothing compared to Brooklyn.
Successes, you take 1 point of damage, of sanity damage. Hannah, you take a 1d6.
Oh. 6. Yay me.
No. Okay.
Ooh.
So,
It's okay. It's fine.
I don't know the sanity rules great.
It's
But
go
I'm
ahead.
just going to do what I want to do.
Do that.
So first I want you to tell me your reaction. Like, what is so disturbing and how does it affect you that causes you to kind of have this like cataclysmic moment?
It kind of gets to the point where she's looking at this like tangle of limbs and whatnot, and the fact that if all of that can't stop it, then the gun on her hip won't be able to either. You know?
So like a helplessness.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like we are in this hallway with no clear way out besides, sure, probably a locked door or a deep abyss, and very hopelessness of trying to get out of it.
Okay. And you guys, you only took a little bit of sanity damage, but tell me a little bit about what y'all are thinking, how you feeling.
Bernard is a bit aghast of the folding of the man, and he sort of feels like he might be to blame for that. He is not completely sure because it seems like something on that side has been severed, but he still is a little bit like, did I just command these things to kill him? And he's a little on edge because of that. And then the other thing walks in and he realizes that that thing has wings. The fact that all the pedestals are gone does not matter. And he is getting ready to book it.
Yeah, watching the weird contortions that I'm just going to say a cultist dude made as he folded in on himself and crumbled into a heap a third of the side of his body. That was like really straining the edges of Nate's mental capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And then that creature busts through. And rather than sending him over the edge, it just put him into straight nope mode. And I don't know, maybe some old police training kicked in, protect and serve. And now this is a situation that we've got to get out of. So the horror of the man crumbling, which was getting to him, is actually overcome and beaten by the horror of the creature and then the need to act.
Correct.
So I'm going to turn to Bernard and Kara and say, I don't know if these tiles are going to actually open the door. Nobody's even tested the door. But I don't want to run to the door to figure and then find out we need to do these tiles. So you two go see if you can open the door, and I'll keep turning tiles. And if the door's already open, just yell at me to come. But so that we're covering both bases at the same time, I'm trying to convey that to them. You go check the door. I'll keep spinning tiles.
Right.
How much more tiles are there? And a quick assessment of number of tiles versus distance from thing.
You probably, if all three of you were working on tiles, would each need to do about 3 more tiles. Before we move any further on that train of thought, Kara, do you know that nifty chart that you've got?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So you got an 8. So that means that I choose, and I need you to act in accordance with number 1. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you guys, so you're going to be directing them to, y'all go try the door. I'm going to start working on more tiles. Bernard, what are you doing?
Bernard was already in motion when he started
Correct.
talking, so he is straight heading for the door.
Perfect. Kara, what are you doing?
She is going to yell, when has anything been unlocked in this thing when there's puzzles here? And she's going to shove Nate and then go back to working on the 3 that she needs to do.
Okay. Make me a strength roll.
A 3.
Extreme success.
So you can either choose to fight back or dodge.
I'm going to do neither. I'm going to actually just let her shove me and look at her like, and then see that she's going to be spinning these things. I was like, a quick calculation in my head. 2 people going to check the door, 1 person doing tiles, 2 people doing tiles, 1 person checking the door. I'm not seeing a big difference here. Right. So I take the shove from her and I go to the next tile that I'm working on. And I'm just like, are you Car, you got it? Are you okay? You got it together?
Yeah, because this shove is not like the normal.
No, I felt every bit
It's not
of
the
it.
normal, like, just like back up, man. This is like full hands to chest, like pushing you back. And you stumble back several paces, which is unusual given the size discrepancy between the two of you, that she is able to just force you back several steps. And, this isn't you backing up out of her safety. This is you were genuinely knocked back. It's very uncharacteristic of Kara.
Yeah, so while I'm spinning tiles, I'm gonna constantly just be shooting eyes over to her to monitor.
So the 2 people who are doing tiles, make me luck rolls, please. As you guys continue to hear, well, this is not about your ability to do it; it's how quick you can do it.
Yeah, I just.
I know your luck's not
I
great.
had like 29 luck, and I had to
used a
spend
lot.
13 of them not to fall in the abyss. So I'm down to 16 luck.
Hard success.
Okay.
I have a failure, but I rolled a 19. But that's a failure.
Damn, you said you have 16 left? That's so close. So while she's like double timing, like she's able to knock them out, like she's like the first turn. You're doing pretty well. You're having to do a little bit of, but you are moving at a pretty good pace. Just not quite as fast as she's going. She seems to just have a real good knack for
Like
that.
she's Lara Crofting it or something.
Right. Like she has like plot armor or something in this. But the whole time you guys are doing this, you are hearing that horrible scraping of these large talons through stone. And none of you have, mentioned like looking back, but you can hear just shattered pillars and parts of walls that are just giving way. And every now and again you're hearing this as it just keeps going and going, and you're hearing splashing of blood as it begins to pool over the side as it's being drugged. You hear the splash of the crumpled body getting drugged underneath this being, just through all of this stuff. The stone statues that are just being toppled over and just shattered on the ground, and then you hear the stone just as it's drug under this massive being trying to fit itself through this tiny little hallway. Bernard, door. What are we doing?
Try to open the door.
Okay. So, the door opens inward towards you. As you try to pull it, you realize that you cannot. So you may try to make a strength roll if you want to try to force it, or if you want to try to use some other roll to get it open.
Make a strength roll, and it's a regular success.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell that the doors do open, but you're just not getting enough purchase to really yank them open.
I'm going to turn around, and my intention is to look at Nate and Kara, but I'm thinking I am going to be seeing something else as well, and it's going to catch my eye, and I'm going to be looking at it.
Okay. So you see Nate and Kara has moved, considerably further ahead on the hallway. Nate is still making good progress, but he is behind her. He may have had one or two trickier ones than she did. But as you're looking at them, you look past, your eyes just can't help themselves but to look at the atrocity that is coming your way. And as you do, you see its head kind of push through the doorway. It begins to crack and bow behind it. And there's this
Which
moment,
doorway? This is critical.
the doorway going into the room with the abyss.
Okay. So he's still in
the hallway
with the warriors pushing into the large cavern room.
Yes. Its head fits through the door, but only just as it pushes its head through, and you see it kind of do this like neck crack. And there's just this moment where it kind of almost locks eyes with you, and it can't smile, but there is this like grimace of teeth as one shoulder just slams through. And the two people in the hallway, I need y'all to make quick dexterity rolls because there is rubble that is now being shunned through the hallway towards you. You are under enough cover that, having looked behind the corner, that you're not...
So the force that he's coming through the door on the other side of the abyss is throwing shrapnel across the abyss into our hallway.
Correct.
Son of a bitch. That's a regular success. I'm laughing at Kara's roll.
Kara, what'd you do?
It's a success, but it's an 80 under 80.
Success.
Even 80?
Success. All right. So you might have a few small pieces hit you, but when that initial impact happened, you both kind of snap your head around and you're able to kind of tuck and dodge from some of the larger pieces that are coming your way. But Bernard, you see one, very clawed reptilian hand just come around these pillars and begin to heave itself out. As it does and it enters into a more well-lit area, this skin isn't the right word. It's almost like if a volcano had erupted and sealed and began to cool down. There's all these cracks and crevices where light is kind of pouring through.
By high school complexion.
Yeah. And you see it kind of flex its jaw, and there's these almost like tectonic plate-like structures that kind of overlap and pull back as its mouth kind of hinges. You can tell that whatever its skin is, it's incredibly hard, and in order for it to even bend and move, it's almost like tectonic plates that have to overlap each other for a moment to then bend back out to make it move. And when it does, it kind of shows these larger areas of this muscly sinew.
Well, there goes our chances of making this movie without CGI.
Yeah,
okay,
sorry. This muscly sinew that almost emits a light behind it. It's this reddish, orange, sometimes purplish, bluish, emitting light, almost like living magma behind these tectonic plates of skin.
Great. We've got a crust monster on our hands.
Would really like some water right about now.
Nate is going to, after he sees all this, he's going to look back at you two and say, guys, I need you to trust me on this. Think of the most reassuring, the most comforting thought you can and hold it in your mind and hold on to it.
You just have to believe, Charlie.
And after a minute...
We don't want to know what we're thinking.
You can.
Donuts.
Donuts.
Kara, do you have
what's your comforting moment?
I feel like she is in such a state that she kind of blows off the words. She's like, a comforting moment in all of this.
Go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find comfort in thinking, go fuck yourself.
I find comfort in being angry.
Exactly. Comforting is not being in this shithole right now.
Well, Bernard notices a pretty eat shit and die look on your face, but he has the idea that when he thought speak, something happened that stopped everyone in the room and caused him and the rest of you a little bit of pain. So he's wondering if maybe if he commands them to scream, if the monster itself maybe will be hindered by it, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
This is an L
Okay.
that Car is just gonna have to take.
So I'm gonna preface this narration with, you are going to be able to do what you want to do. But I do need you to make a power roll for me, okay?
So, memories. Way back when we were in that room, they let out some kind of weird scream noise that we all felt.
All up in your noggins, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was recalling that correctly. It's also a little flashback for our listeners.
And that was when I said speak, so I'm thinking saying scream is going to have a much higher...
Much more delirious effect.
I'm spending the luck to make it a regular success.
Okay. So, you see Bernard, he's kind of like clutching this corner.
I love this, and I'm so scared of how it's going to turn out.
Are you guys going to continue to turn tiles?
Thinking of donuts, but yeah, I'm turning dials.
As long as, so you guys are...
This one looks a little like an eclair.
So, goddamn. You guys are continuing to turn tiles. You only have a few more left, like maybe 2 left. 1 for each of you to finish up. Car, you've kind of doubled back and are helping Nate finish his, to your own chagrin of having to go over there and help him. And, Bernard tells you, just try to hold on to the nicest thought that you can, and gives you the face of buckle up. As you see him close his eyes and focus, and you both kind of turn to look at this thing and to look at the statue that's in the room with you, and the statues that are, you can't see them, but you know that they are in there, although they are debris at this point. As this being is now placing hands onto these large pedestals, and they are cracking under his weight, and he's just having to kind of grab hold of these shattered remains of these pedestals, these large 3-foot solid stone pedestals that he's just cracking under his weight. And at this point, he's got almost his entire upper body out, and he's got 1 foot that he's kind of wedging out to kind of slam down into the side of the wall and kind of pry himself forward. He's taking up a large portion of this large room that you were in. It's the first time his wings have been able to really completely unfurl. And as they do, you can tell that the bony mass of the wings is in fact some kind of stone. That same thing has this kind of tectonic function to it. But as the wings unfurl, the fleshy bit is this stringy sinew of light and heat. You can see that heat effect of, like light kind of warbling above it as heat is coming off of his wings and off of, his body in these large portions. As he pushes to get that 1 foot out, you start to hear that sound from the stone warrior standing in your room. And you're also hearing it from the shattered remains of the ones in the other room. And at first, it's very similar to what you experienced the first time. It's head splitting. It feels like you're being cracked in two. And then it begins to just ramp up and up and up. And I need the rest of you to make power rolls as well.
Success.
Okay.
I was going to ask if he got to do it with advantage or with a bonus dice because of the comforting donuts.
Advantage.
Success on my end too.
Okay. You go ahead and make one. Your first one was for your ability to do such a strong command, and this one is for your ability to withstand the sound.
That is an extreme.
Brilliant. So, as it begins to crescendo up and up and up, you kind of reach a point where you're able to focus more on your connection with these stone warriors. And while you can still feel the pain, you can still see these horrible things, you're not ramping up to a degree that is quite as intense as you were thinking it was going to be. The rest of you, these visions begin much like before. There's these, bodies strewn out in the desert, sand covered in dirt and grime and flies everywhere as they're humped, masses of... as there are these masses of people that are just being piled up as dead bodies, and you begin to shift over to greenery where bodies are strung up from trees and just dripping blood. But then it goes so much further. You can feel your skin crawling as you begin to feel your own blood pumping through your entire body. Every vessel in your body, you can feel it thrumming with your heartbeat. And then you begin to see things like your old precinct, your friends slumped over their desks, blood splattering computer screens. Cara, you see Statham Manor where, you know, the people that you grew up with who were, you know, your maids and butlers and friends and your uncle are speared through stakes and plastered to walls, their skin flayed open. It becomes very viscerally close to home for you, and you see faces of people you know just absolutely disintegrated and bleeding and bruised and torn asunder as this sound just continues to ramp up and up and up. And you're both going to take 3 points of sanity damage right off the bat, the two of you. Bernard, you have this moment where you've stopped crescendoing and you're still there, but the visions have subsided. You're still in pain, and you're able to kind of force your eyes open to look at this monster as you see it begin to kind of wince and scrawl its neck and begin to try to hurriedly, almost like a cat that's scared, try to push itself back, but it's stuck and it can't, and it begins to flail, wings scraping against walls, and as it begins to tumble and twirl, trying to get free. And in a sad choice of events, it grabs hold of a pillar that just snaps under its weight, and its shoulder slams down into another one as it begins to free fall into the abyss. And that's where we're going to stop tonight.
That's brilliant. Great move, Bernard.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Right. Immediate danger.
Wings.
It does. And I think you are getting very close to a sanity threshold that we need to worry about a little bit.
Yeah. So that has been our newest installment in Laughing at the Wind for our
And
children.
nobody's laughing.
Nobody's laughing, except for me. I'm having a great time.
And me when you say the bodies were humped.
Come on. I don't know what I was trying to say, but I was trying to say something and make it sound cool, and it ruined it.
The bodies in a hump
Yes.
like made sense, but the
way I said it
the
was
phrasing
shitty.
of it and the pause right after.
Because I saw you laugh, and I was like, damn it.
I tried
up.
not to. I'm sorry. So don't forget to hump that subscribe button.
If you feel so inclined, do a tectonic shift on that follow.
Yeah. But that has been our newest installment in Laughing at the Wind, part of our Children of Cthulhu homebrew campaign. If you enjoy it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all things. Check us out on Twitter and podcasts and all that bullshit. I have been your keeper, Emily. I have been here with Steve and John and Hannah, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.